Good morning. I'd like to call this County Commission meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you have any cell phones, please silence those. You don't want to be that guy. And take a moment of silent prayer, please. Thank you. I'll begin the roll call this morning with Commissioner Stevens on the phone, I think. Can you hear us, Mike?
Here.
Commissioner Vicki Codd.
Here.
Commissioner Mike Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Jeff Culberson is here, and Commissioner Doug Smith is absent. Public comment. I have two people signed up for public comment. First one I have on the list is Larry Bigelow. Could you come up to the podium and state your name and address, please, and you have 3 minutes.
Yes, sir. My name is Larry Bigelow. My address is 1704 Southwest 66th Street in Topeka, Kansas. We were asked, this is my friend Larry Moore, formerly of Lawrence, now of Dallas, Texas. We were asked by the former Senate Majority Leader of the Kansas Senate, Senator Larry Alley, and his Chief of Staff, Eric Rucker, to make presentations to all of the counties and municipalities concerning an enhancement program that is for health care that doesn't cost a municipality or a county anything. It guarantees that if you're a fully insured entity, you will receive $573.60 per participating employee in FICA tax savings. If you're fully insured, you'll receive an additional $725 in savings per employee participating, and your employees will take home an average of $1,500 a year annually, and it's totally self-funded through an IRS 125, Section 125 code compliance. Dade County in Florida just became a part of this, and I'll give you just some numbers very quickly, folks. My research said you folks have about 400 employees in your county. So if 400 of employees participate, and they have 100% retention of people, of companies to participate, and about 97% of the employees participate. So if we go at 400, the FICA savings as a fully insured would be $229,440. The self-funded savings would be an additional $290,000, and the increased take-home pay would be an additional $600,000 for your county, which would be a total of $1,119,440. And again, this would not cost your county anything. If you want a character reference, that gentleman right there knows us quite well from days at the Capitol when we presented what's called a fiduciary pharmacy benefit model, and that was quite interesting too. But now we don't have to fight the big boys because they love this program. They get their money, but they cannot take it from you little guys. The whole program makes it. A couple companies you would be familiar with, I think, that use this program would be Amazon and ADP. And ADP is totally about compliance. And you can vet us up one side and down the other. We'll get you whatever information you need.
Okay. My
question is, how do we proceed from this to present this further for you?
Okay.
Do we just give the information to soon-to-be Commissioner Willie, or?
Well, what I would suggest is that you have a meeting with our county administrator. Mark, would you think that would be appropriate? Or maybe our HR director would be more appropriate?
Well, I think if they wanted to present something, if they wanted to send it to me.
Just to check it out and see what's going on.
And then if we had further questions, we could definitely pass on those questions and schedule a meeting.
Yeah, that'd be the right avenue.
So after the meeting, could you contact our county administrator, Mark Lothry?
Okay.
Yeah.
If you have something you want to leave with us, you can just leave it with
do.
I'll give it to
you.
you.
Leave it on the end of the table.
Sure.
This does not in any way affect your group health insurance plans you have with the county. This is an enhancement in addition to it. It stands by itself. It gives the employees zero copays for office visits, for doctors, and urgent care, and zero for drugs, telemedicine. It's a really good program, and but the main thing is it saves you guys. You're already paying all that money out right now with taxes that's going to the government.
Have you talked to any other counties in Kansas?
Yes, we have.
Okay.
Osage County has already started the process to get a quote or a proposal from us.
Okay, and how about NACO? Have you talked to anybody at NACO? Have you talked to anybody at NACO, N-A-A-C-O,
National Association of Counties?
Counties.
No, we haven't yet.
No.
We're working on it.
I would do that next because they represent all the counties, all 105 counties in Kansas. So you can.
We are scheduled to meet with the city manager of Topeka. We are scheduled to meet with the League of Municipalities in Kansas.
Yeah, and NACO could help you contact all the counties at once.
I'd sure like to hear more about it.
Sure.
I'd sure like to know more about this. Sounds interesting.
We just met with the Teamsters president yesterday.
Okay.
He's all for it.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like a good deal.
All right.
I wasn't going to comment yet.
Okay, well, thank you guys very much. We'll be talking to you, it sounds like. Perfect.
How do we get a hold of you?
I'll reach out to you.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, we'll get a hold of you guys then because it sounds like something we're very interested in talking
Yeah,
about.
let's hear about it. Yeah.
Okay. Next, I have Larry Moore signed up. Oh, is that you? Okay. We got both of you then.
I'm glad to talk to you.
We're good.
Well, it sounds very interesting. So we'll have Mark get a hold of you.
Okay.
Thank you guys very much. Anybody else set up? Lou, you want to come up and talk? Come on up to the podium.
Totally thrilling. I don't know how you let him talk over 3 minutes.
There were two of them. They ganged up on me.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Good morning, Louie.
I have about 4 little things I want to pass on. You mentioned, the bridge and that. They're doing the bridge up here, I guess. And who knows what they're really doing. They don't want to put a toll on, I don't mean a toll booth like I worked on back in the 50s. I'm talking about a toll.
Yep.
That's that little light that takes your face, takes your car, sends you a ticket. In those days, it was 25 cents across. And I mentioned to you before that a Navy lieutenant where I'm at was making over $100,000, or right at $100,000. I was making $10,000 gross. So if he lives in Platte County and Clay County, surely he can afford it. And the city would probably give a reduction. But you mentioned there were 33,000, I think it was, protests, or potential landowners that could protest. And you said something like 280 did it, or I don't know what the figures were, and nobody really came back. You know why they didn't come back? They didn't get any results out of it. Why do you want to come back? There's only one guy in town who does that. It's that little short, fat guy with a gap in his teeth. He comes back because he sees there's things that need to be done. Bob came in here and he sat here and did a dissertation. He's not a county appraiser. He is a state appraiser. And people out here know that. You don't rent their space to the state, but you pay their salaries, but you don't have a thing to say. When we used to be county commissioners, they would come in. That was part of their protest. They'd stand here and protest, and the county commissioners had a judge on it, what we were going to do. You don't do that anymore. You have no affiliation with it that I know of, and that's a shame, because the county, if that's the county appraiser, but you have nothing to do with the appraiser. The staff, good people. I mean, I've known most of them for years. You now have 2 attorneys, okay? And I can remember the 2 offices that came in. One was the sheriff, one was the county attorney. You're not telling us what to do. We're elected officials. We will set our own budget. We don't want to hear from you. That's what they said. That is bad. Because now you have 2. Now, she did one thing greater than your main attorney. She's up there talking. I couldn't come to the meeting, and she reached out and grabbed the mic and brought it forward. So I actually heard her on the TV. That was a tremendous thing. We don't hear all you guys talking because we want to be able to hear what you're saying. But that was Mitzi. She pulled that mic forward. Muchi do not any deska. Last thing is, and I'm sure you people are all aware of this, Europe is talking about one pilot cockpit. Does that ring any bells? What's a cockpit? You know, that's where we fly out of. One pilot in the cockpit. That's not good. That's not part of the county. I'm just passing that on so you'll know. It won't be here when I'm here. I'll be pumping up daisies. So. But I want to talk on the, what do you call it, 1 million passage. Thanks for the extra 35 seconds.
Thank you, Louis. That's all I have for public comment. Next, we'll move on to administrative business. I have a health gauge report.
Commissioners, I'll have Jamie come up and.
Morning, Jamie.
Morning, Jamie.
Morning, Commissioners. The aggregate report from the health gauge, which is the county health assessment, came through, and in discussion with Mark in regards to that, we wanted to just present to the commission kind of some of the results that were found. We had 205 employees go through that health assessment. That's up about 69 from the year prior.
Good.
Some of the things that were found, though, in the carotid artery testing that was done, there was a critical value, which was greater than 70% blockage was found. And there was one significant, which was 50 to 70%. We also then had 21 that had 50% or less blockage, and then 87 had some or mild. So in that, obviously, we had quite a few results found that are pretty significant for individuals. There was also additional findings of 13 abnormal thyroids, 2 multicystic thyroids, 5 irregular heartbeats, 2 gallstones, and 1 large lymph node. And one of the things I shared with Mark in this is there was an employee that came forward to me. I'm going to say younger employee that I kind of pushed to go through. In some of those findings were in there, and I'm going to tell you that they were very emotional and very supportive that they were able to go through this and have this found because it was found early enough that they're going to be able to seek treatment early enough that it's going to be able to be taken care of. The individual would not have known at all that this was even going on without going through something like this.
Yep.
So it just really wraps up why we do it and what could potentially be found for somebody regardless of age, regardless of the employee. And it's able to be tracked early enough. So
Yeah, that's great.
the report came through. I just want to kind of highlight on a few things, how important this is, and hopefully that we can continue this for our employees, whether it's with this company or other methods. I think it's very important that we continue this moving forward.
And commissioners also wanted to share, had an employee come and meet with me, and they wanted me to pass on that they actually identified something else that wasn't part of the screening, but while they were screening for something else, they identified a mass, so that person was able to go see a primary care physician and identify it, and so they are looking at getting treatment for that, which they would have never known was there. So hopefully, prayers that turns out for the best for that employee, but they wanted me to share with the board that they appreciated the fact that they were able to do this. Otherwise, they wouldn't have known.
Never found it. Yeah. That's great. That's great, Jamie.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you. Yeah, I am a firm believer in this program because I, for one, didn't know I had high blood pressure until I went through this thing.
And then, yeah.
So I wouldn't have even known it.
We've been doing this for, I think 6 years, give or take, 7 years now. So, the board agrees to fund this each year. It's a great thing. But it also, if we can identify these things and get people aware of them and get them in treatment before it becomes a critical health issue, it does save the county money long term.
Yeah.
But that's really not why we do it. And I think what Jamie just talked to you about today is why we do it.
Hey, Jamie, one question, though. Well, I noticed we a significant increase this year. Do you know what the cause of that was? An information we put out, or browbeating our employees out to get some way more to turn out?
I think some of it was involved for the incentive programs and things that we're trying to
Right, we're offering now?
on that.
Okay.
Yeah, we made this health screening a big part of the points that you can earn
Okay.
to help with your
That's right.
your insurance premium.
I
So I think
remember
that's
now.
probably the biggest change.
Good. It worked.
Perfect. Thanks, Jamie. Anything else for administrative business, Marcus?
No, not today.
Move on to consent agenda then.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, begin voting with Commissioner Steben.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 4-0.
Hey, Jeff,
Yeah.
before you move on, I had one thing to bring up in the administrative business. I'm getting phone calls, and I'm sure you are too, from folks up in Easton
Yep.
concerning the landfill and the smell and the odor. Apparently that is
Yeah, the last 2 weeks it's
still
opened back up.
becoming an issue, and I would like very soon for us to have a meeting with our attorney to find out what some of our options are.
I agree.
Yeah, I drove by. It does. I mean,
It stinks. I know. It is.
Oh, yeah, I can smell it from my house.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
About 2 weeks ago, they started opening the dirt back up or something. I don't know what they're doing.
They did
actually.
something, though.
I reached out. I reached out to KDHE, made sure that they were still closed and they're not allowed to bring any new debris in or do any business, but they are allowed to do any kind of construction or dirt work they want to do within the gates. I don't know what they're doing or why they're doing it, but they've been disturbing the dirt the last couple of weeks, and the
That's what's
smell
brought
is
it
coming
back up,
back.
yeah.
It is obnoxious.
So we're hopefully by the time we meet with county staff, we'll hear something back from KDHE of what's going on. I've got an email request into them, but I haven't heard anything back yet.
And I thought it was a little bit ridiculous that they have been given another extension, and that
Yeah.
the county wasn't even. We found out about that from a constituent
Secondhand.
versus
Yeah,
the KDHE even letting us know, the Board of County Commissioners, that an extension had been given yet again till March,
yeah,
which
yeah.
I think it's kind of disrespectful.
Yeah,
I'm
I
sorry.
agree 100%. So,
Yeah, I agree, Vicki.
over the next week, we hope to hear a lot more out of KDHE. Is where we're at. It's about all we can do.
Yep.
So, today's Wednesday. Before next Wednesday's meeting,
Then we have next Monday.
or
Monday.
Monday's meeting. Yeah, that's too short.
We still may hear something.
Yeah. So as soon as we hear something, Mike, we'll set up a meeting with our county counselor and figure out what our options are.
Yeah, that sounds good. I just want to make sure we got that on the
Yep.
radar.
Yep. Good point, Mike.
Okay. Any other administrative business?
Yeah.
Consent agenda is
I would
passed.
like to point out that Commissioner Smith forced me to eat chili with ghost peppers in it yesterday, and very disturbing.
Disturbing.
Is that how you worded it?
Doesn't sound like anything Mike would do.
Is it still disturbing you?
It was yesterday.
Okay.
Mike, I warned you. I warned you.
I heard that come out good. Okay, so next formal board action is amendments to Leavenworth County budget for 2024. We're going to open up a public hearing. This is to consider a motion to approve the amendments to the Leavenworth County budget for 2024.
Do you need a motion?
A motion
Did you make it? Or?
I think you can just open the public.
We just open it.
Okay.
We just open it, yeah.
So we are now opening a public hearing for this county budget amendment.
Need any background or just
You have somebody who, since you opened the public hearing, are you going to allow the
right? Well,
Comments.
public can-
Anybody from the public?
Yeah, I don't have a list of anybody that wanted to speak. Is there anybody in the room who would like to speak? Louis Klemp, would you like to come forward and talk about the amendment to the 2024 budget.
Well, I didn't identify myself last time. It's Lewis Klemp, 1816 Pine Ridge Drive, Leavenworth, Kansas.
Thank you.
Or it's 778 Cherokee in the old Clint Furniture Factory. But everybody who's sitting here, everybody who is in the county, you ought to go request the Leavenworth County Clerk report. I hadn't requested it for years. But it talks about where all the money is and doesn't say how it's going to be spent. There's about 100 areas. General was $6 million. Equipment and reserve of $5 million. Road and bridge, and that's the part that's at the next meeting or at the next hearing, has $2 million. Another one has $1,600,000. Another has $7 million. One has $52 million. But it's very interesting to see. We used to have, I think, one sheet back in the 70s, and now they have two sheets of 100. And for kids' alcohol, it's amazing where you see money sitting and how the county gets involved with it. And we can't always complain about some other department not doing what they're doing because the city doesn't do what they're supposed to be doing. It's your job is the budget, and I think you need to be a little more careful. We always, I think, elect pretty good people, but I don't know if they have any depth on. Somebody was just telling me about his dad involved with, wouldn't take any answers because he knew the answers. You know, you didn't know Julius Cause, but I did. Didn't know David Cause. And I think that's what Vicky's doing. She wants to be the president of that foundation for the museums that you're going to start. That's a hidden story. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Client. Anybody else like to speak during public comment? Seeing none, we can close the public comment segment.
And I think that we can explain just to the public what this is. That's why I said just as,
Right.
as an explanation as to what's happening here and why. Because I'm looking, there's people like, huh? So
yeah. So I'll go through some of the amendments and why we do them. So each year we come to the Board of County Commissioners in usually late December to amend certain budgets. Either we had revenue that didn't come in as expected, or either positive or negative, or we had expenditures that, while we set our budget over, like today, the 2024 budget was set in July of 2023, but we have an expenditure that came in just yesterday that increased over 30% our property and casualty insurance, as an example. So while we budgeted a year and a half ago thinking that yesterday that bill was going to come in somewhere around $800 to $800, or between $880 and $900,000, it came in more like $1.1 million. So things like those happen. Our health insurance earlier this year, 26% increase, and those are things that are outside the board's control. And when you budget a year and a half ago, it's hard to anticipate some of those changes. So this is where we wrap that up at the end of the year. We're not allowed to go over budget. This doesn't increase any property tax. We're well past that. This is just allowing us to use funds that are available either from an increase in cash carryover or other sources to cover these expenditures and to make sure that we don't violate budget law. The four that you have right now, it's an employee benefit change, juvenile detention, 911 tax, and solid waste. So the employee benefit I just touched on, that increase was 26%. So its expenditures are going to be significantly more than we anticipated a year and a half ago. So we're amending that to allow us to have the proper budget authority. Juvenile detention, and Jamie's here and she can touch base on that just a little bit, and I'll let her do that because I made her come over. I don't want her to just sit there and not get a chance to speak. But she will keep it specifically to why we have to amend this budget.
Morning, Jamie.
Good morning.
Morning, Jamie.
I had my coffee, but I'll still be brief. So when we created this budget, $150,000 was what we put in for the whole FY24 for juvenile detention. Wyandotte County currently charges us $150 per day. We budgeted $150,000 because previously in the past 2 years we had budgeted $250,000 and didn't get close to spending almost half of that either year. For example, the previous year we spent $123,000 for the whole year. Unfortunately, we were already at $161,000 by the end of October, and we spent an additional $24,000 in November. And I don't have any good answers for you other than we could not have estimated that juveniles and their crimes would be increasing to a point where they were detained for such long periods of time in Wyandotte County.
Okay.
And there's still a cost savings as to why we don't have a JDC. Please don't bring that back.
I understand.
So, and Jamie made a good point there that this service used to cost us significantly more when we provided ourselves because we had to have a fully staffed, basically a juvenile detention center, a jail for kids, that was fully staffed 24/7, whether there was anybody in there or not. Now we're only paying for when there's somebody in. We pay. We have Wyandotte County, who has a very nice new facility. They take care of it. But we tried to do a better job of budgeting. We thought we did. Last year we spent 123. We budgeted only 150 instead of 250. And guess what? We got caught at the end of the year. So that's why we're amending juvenile detention. The 911 tax, we discussed that ad nauseum during the budget process. But the 911 fund is basically it receives its revenue through the taxes on phones, cell phones, and other communication devices. And it does not generate enough revenue. It's been dropping off steadily. It doesn't generate enough revenue to cover its own expenditures. The only way to fix that is to transfer money in. And so this year we are transferring money in from the general fund into the 911 fund. But the expenditures are higher than originally anticipated, so we have to amend that budget to allow for those expenditures. Solid waste, as you know, solid waste is a standalone fund. It generates its own revenue for its expenditures, but its expenditures are specifically tied to how much use. And as you hear when Tammy comes in here, the usage of the transfer station is up year after year after year. This is an amendment that we make almost every year. Also, our agreement with the contractor who hauls from the transfer station to a landfill, that allows them to adjust their fee middle of the year. So once they make that adjustment tied to the CPI, then we increase our fees, and so that's what this is. It's just simply allowing us to take into consideration the additional charges that we've been assessed either through usage or through the fee increase.
And that one pays for itself, though, more.
It does. The fees that we collect pays for itself. So
okay.
Again, none of these represent a tax increase right now. It's just allowing us to spend money or amend the budget because of expenditures that came in that were unexpected.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure everybody knows this isn't creating any new taxes or raising anybody's taxes. Basically, it's just saying all these numbers are available to the public. It's all public information on our budget, and we have to account for every penny. So when we say we're going to spend this much in this account, we got to the end of the year, and we were short in this account, so we're going to take money from an account that we had more in left over and put it in the account that was short. All we're doing is moving money around to cover where it's needed and not needed. So.
Did you close the public hearing already?
We did close the public hearing.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. So we're ready for a motion to approve the amendments.
You want to do it, Vicki? You want me to?
Go ahead.
Okay, motion to approve the amendments to the Leavenworth County budget for 2024.
I have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, begin voting with Commissioner Steben.
Aye.
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 Aye. Next, amendments to the Leavenworth County budget special other funds for sewer districts 1 and 5 for 2024. We'll open the public hearing. If anyone wishes to speak on that, they can come to the podium. We have one. Louis Klump, would you like to come up and talk? He's figured this out. He's got a combination of threes.
Allow 10, 15 minutes. and we would answer their situations. It was great in the 70s and the 90s. As I said, everybody sitting here needs to go down and ask the clerk for a Leavenworth County clerk's report. Anybody comes in from out of the building needs to ask for it, so you can sit there and see where money is. You can't answer your question that maybe you're going to have, but there's a lot of money that comes in. But I'm looking here at you're transferring $1 million from Road and Bridge Fund to Capital Road Fund. You're transferring $400,000, same direction. And as I go through this, Road and Bridge says $2,363,000. I think it's a little lower unencumbered cash balance. It's $2 million roughly rounded out. And then the $1.6 million is $1.5 million, and that's on local service Road and Bridge. And then you have another Road and Bridge escrow account, $105 million, and it's basically at 105. So you must be transferring out of Road and Bridge, which is 133, and where are you transferring it into? That would be nice. Is it the 1.6 million, or is it into the 105,000? See, so you read this, and it doesn't tell you anything. It just tells you there's 3 accounts out of 100. So it would be nice to have known that. And in theory, the city and the county does the same thing. If you go in and request somebody to do something for you, like you go to the clerk, and if it's going to take them time, they're going to charge you. Didn't used to do that, and they never charged me when I was county commissioner. But you come in as a person, they're going to charge you for that report. You can't get and come up with an answer. The city does the same thing. I think that's in a little poor taste. People want to know, and I think that's so. If you can answer that question, which you normally don't answer questions, but you did for the guy here, just violated the 3 minutes, but that's all right. His was a very interesting subject, and I thought it was good. So thank you very much, but it would be nice to know where the $1.4 million is coming from and going to.
Thank you, Louis.
Thank you, Louis.
I'm sure Mark will be able to provide that information to you after the meeting if you ask.
We probably do it now.
You need to close the public hearing.
Yeah,
You
we
close
don't
it.
have we don't have anybody else that would like to speak for the public hearing. Then we will close the public hearing. The public hearing is now closed.
Let Mark speak on that.
Okay. Commissioners, those 2 items are actually our next agenda items. They're not part of this current agenda or part of the public hearing, but when we get to those, we'll be happy to address those.
Okay, that's the way we'll do it.
Okay.
That sounds good.
The current amendment that you have before you for the 2 sewer districts, 1 and 5, similarly as expenditures come in throughout the year, we have to make sure we have a budget for it. We thought, a year and a half ago we had enough, but a few of the grinder pumps or other things that we're responsible to maintain have had additional expenditures come in. These sewer districts are fully funded by themselves. They're not allowed to have funds come in from the general government operations. So they're amended. Probably this is a good indication, though, that come next budget cycle in June, we will probably need to increase fees in some of the sewer districts because their expenditures are going up as their infrastructure ages.
There you have that one. I'll entertain a motion.
Go ahead.
Okay. Make a motion to approve the amendments to the Leavenworth County Special Other Funds for Sewer Districts 1 and 5 for 2024.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, begin voting with Commissioner Stephen.
I vote aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Next, consider a motion to approve Board Order 2024-10, transferring funds from the Road and Bridge Fund of the county to the Capital Road Fund in the amount of $1 million.
Commissioners, the next two items are, I believe, what Louis was referring to when he came up to the podium just a minute ago. These are transfers. Typically at the end of the year, as we're evaluating these two budgets, and I have Bill here to come up and speak on these in just one second, we look at if we had money that was unspent that was below what we budgeted, what we estimated, then we take that money and put it into capital improvements for those funds. And I can have Bill come up and explain why. In this particular year, we have more than we normally would. Those are two very large transfers, but that comes from savings. So,
yeah, Commissioners, as you know, in the past several years, we have come in here at the end of the year with extremely tight budgets, as little as I believe 115,000, which was like 1%. But what we did this year, and you guys are well aware of the changes that we made to the chip and seal maintenance cycle, it inherently had some risk to it. We were contracting with a company out of southeast Missouri, and it was being brought in trap rock via rail instead of using haydite. And so we had anticipated that switch of aggregate material to save the county approximately $450,000 based upon the two savings. We also had the fuel savings as this material was being delivered and not being hauled by county staff. But what was an unknown variable and the largest risk is we were switching oil types. This type of application used a more expensive oil at a different spray rate, and it's not. It's more of it's more of an individual city specification. It's not really out there to the general public. Lenexa had used it. That's where we had gone and looked at it. But we weren't positive of how our funding would come out with the oil that was going to be required. Now that we've completed the entire year, where we thought we may just break even, we actually had an $800,000 savings. And so not only did we save money in the aggregate by taking this risk, we also saved a tremendous amount of money in the oil. The oil was more expensive per gallon, but the application rate was considerably less. And so we did maintain the exact same miles that we anticipated on maintaining. I believe it's a superior product to haydite. It does not crush out. It does not seem to want to come up if we hit it with a snowplow. I believe that we're going to have great success with it. But we were able to transfer $1.4 million, and as you guys know, that's about the cost of an average bridge.
Yep.
So by doing this, we can hopefully save that money on a yearly basis and put that money towards either a road project or a bridge project. But either way, this change in maintenance was a great savings for the county.
Yep.
And the money being transferred goes for other projects, and we'll meet. We'll do the CIP review, March, April timeframe. We'll do the CIP review, and you'll see that we were able to move a project up from where it was previously on the CIP. We're moving it up to this 2025 in order to take advantage of the savings.
And it will go to the 220 fund, which is our special highway, which was referenced earlier by Mr. Clem.
Seems like that worked well, Bill.
Yeah, it was great.
Very good. Any other questions for Bill?
Not. I'll make a motion to approve Board Order 2024-10, transferring funds from the Road and Bridge Fund of the county to the Capital Road Fund in the amount of $1 million.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Begin voting with Commissioner Stephen.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Next, consider a motion to approve Board Order 2411, transferring funds from the Local Service Road and Bridge Fund to the county to the Capital Road Fund in the amount of $400,000.
That's what we
Same.
just explained.
Same
Same
thing.
savings, yeah.
Yep. Same exact scenario. So if we don't have any further discussion, we'll entertain a motion.
You want to do it? Okay.
I move to approve Board Order 2024-11, transferring funds from the Local Service Road and Bridge Fund of the county to the Capital Road Fund in the amount of $400,000.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Did you catch all that, Mr. Clint? Where the money's going to and coming from?
We
Okay.
saved money.
You're welcome. Motion and a second. Begin voting with Commissioner Stephen.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Next, consider a motion to provide direction to staff as to which option the county wishes to pursue in regard to providing fire protection services for Fire District Number 1 for 2025.
Commissioners, obviously we've met on this multiple times, had a lot of discussion. I've been trying to keep you up to date on how the meetings with the individual, the two townships and the city have went. We're at a point where now we need direction from the Board of County Commissioners on which way, as being the fire district directors after the first of the year, which way you would like to direct us to proceed. Whatever option you select today, we will prepare an agreement, appropriate agreement, and put it on the next Monday's agenda for your approval. If you have specific questions about any of this, I'm happy to answer them. Or if you need additional information as far as any of the details have been provided, happy to get into that too.
Well, I think it's pretty clear. The two options that come up for us, I want to make sure we always have coverage for High Prairie. And this is this could be a one-year deal and comes back. With that being said, I make a motion we contract with Lansing to provide fire protection for service to the entity of Fire District Number 1.
So that's option we're looking.
Option 2.
Option 2. So that we can have discussion, I'll second the motion.
And option 2 is the county may contract with Lansing to provide fire protection services to the entirety of Fire District 1.
Right.
Okay.
But this translates to, after the first of the year, there are certain things that must happen in the process of the fire district, whether the Board of County Commissioners determine that they want to have the fire district remain intact or the dissolving the fire district, correct? And if that happens, there's a process that must take place for that to occur.
Commissioners, the fire district exists until either all of the entities withdraw or it is dissolved. There's two separate processes for that. One, to dissolve it completely requires a 60% of the property owners, land-based property owners in the district to sign a petition, and then the board of directors for the fire district and the Board of County Commissioners then would be able to consider whether they wanted to proceed with that. To withdraw, each entity needs 10% of the land area represented, and then they can withdraw from the fire district. It is possible, we believe, that all three could withdraw, depending upon what happens, or some of them could withdraw and some could stay. Either way, the Board of County Commissioners will be the director for Fire District Number 1 starting January
1. This is Commissioner Stephen. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Under the terms of the agreement with Lansing, is there an exit clause, like 30 days or a certain number of days that we can, that the two parties, that they decided later on that they wanted to part ways, or does it have to go for the entire year into that provision?
Commissioner Stephen, this is David Van Paris. The proposed agreement does have a clause to whereby the parties could agree to terminate the agreement. I believe it's for a period of 1 year. However, if an occurrence were to rise during that 1 year period that would justify amending that agreement to provide for an earlier, opt-out, that could always be addressed. One of the real issues facing you is this. To alter the boundaries of the fire district, you have to receive a petition. Mark outlined the requirements for that, and that petition can really only be considered in the time frame between January 1 and July 1 of a year, any specific year. So you're unable to alter the boundaries until after the year, and that alteration would undoubtedly take at least, I'd say, 60 to 90 days. The purpose of the agreement that's being proposed is to provide fire protection to the entirety of the fire district while the consideration of the alteration of its boundaries takes place. So the proposal, as outlined in Commissioner Smith's motion, basically is that the City of Lansing, which has presented information to your staff and I believe to the board, that they have the capacity to provide fire protection to the entirety of the area of Fire District Number 1, would be contracted with the county to do so. At a later date, if and when the City of Lansing or Delaware Township or a combination of them wished to alter the boundaries to exclude themselves from Fire District Number 1, the situation could be analyzed at that time. But even were they to withdraw, the City of Lansing would be under an agreement to provide fire protection to the remaining portion of the fire district, which would be High Prairie Township.
If High Prairie Township citizens decide to follow the provisions of the law to claim their own fire protection for their township, what would the effect of that action be on this agreement?
Well, Commissioners, next year the fire district exists. Once they petition to withdraw, that would address when it actually they would be removed from the fire district. It's all about taxation, when taxes are levied and when they aren't. The state statute allows up until a certain date that they can withdraw. After that date, they have to stay in for the remainder of the year and into the following year.
So High Prairie Township has till a certain date to make that decision or follow those laws, whatever the petition requirements are, and after that they're required to remain in the fire district.
For an additional year, yes, because I think, again, it comes down to the taxation and when taxation can occur, and so notices have to be given at the appropriate time. And that's why the state statute cuts off on a date certain that they have to have a petition to the board if they wanted to withdraw. That's true of any of the entities.
Okay, so let's say they do file a petition to withdraw, and I'm talking about High Prairie Township. Say they file this petition in a timely manner. What effect does that have on our agreement with Lansing?
Well, there's a notification clause in our agreement with Lansing that addresses that, and that'll be again on next week's agenda, so you'll be able to see the entirety of it. But there'll be an exit clause that's in there, and I believe we allowed for 7 months notice to get out because of budgets, and then we have a clause in there also that would say or mutually agreeable time prior to that. So if we can come up with a better solution, we can. And I'll tell you that Lansing has been very receptive to all of our discussions, and I think they are prepared, if you make this decision today to utilize them, I think they're prepared to approve that as well.
Okay, in your discussion with the High Prairie folks, are they also comfortable with proceeding?
Well, I think High Prairie offered that they wanted to provide a volunteer department like I have already had discussed with you previously. I think that's their preference, is that they provide their own volunteer fire department with the chief. Unfortunately, I think the timing of this, had that process maybe started 6 months ago, you might be at a point where you'd be more comfortable with it. But that's still an option. You could do that today, or you can do what the motion is on the table, which is to contract with Lansing.
But even if we agree to this contract with Lansing, that does not preclude down the road modifications that would allow High Prairie to become autonomous.
Commissioner Stephen, this is David Van Paris again. The county has, during the entirety of the process of forming the fire district and now in the dissolution of the fire district, or a significant change to the fire district, maintained that it is the preference of the county to allow the constituent members, that is Delaware Township, High Prairie Township, and the City of Lansing, to conduct their own affairs with respect to fire protection. The proposed agreement, I believe, continues that thought pattern in that while it provides for the City of Lansing to provide fire protection to the fire district, it does not preclude the parties from determining their own future at some point, and the agreement specifically allows for termination on a set time or upon mutual agreement. The real issue is what assurance can you give yourselves as the Board of Directors of Fire District Number 1 that you will be providing fire protection to the constituents within Fire District Number 1 on January 1 at midnight?
Well, thank you. That answers my questions. I appreciate it.
Commissioners, also, Commissioner Doug Smith wasn't able to be here today, but he did want me to bring up two items. One was, will the members of the current employees or volunteers of the Fire District Number 1, will they lose FRA benefits? And the answer to that is we've met with the insurance board, and they could not provide an answer at this time. I think the response was that they're looking into it, but at this time they don't have an answer.
And Commissioners, we meet via telephone with the legal counsel and the Insurance Commission staff member who manages the FRA program tomorrow at 10:30. And in the meantime, we've outlined them to the situation. They have assured us that they are endeavoring to answer our questions with this goal that no member currently covered under the FRA would suffer any adverse financial consequences. And we've asked them to provide us guidance on how to make that happen. They also, I believe, have the discretion to assist us in making that happen as well. So we're working on that. Unfortunately, as Mark said, we don't have a definitive answer from the Insurance Commission at this time, but they've been very receptive to meeting with us, and we're going to conduct a further meeting tomorrow morning.
The other question was, is there a Board of County Commissioners liability for choosing a lower level of service? And on that one, I would have to defer to.
Commissioners, this issue was addressed by Judge Bryant in his ruling, and I think he correctly summarized it as such. The statute directs that the Board of Directors of the Fire District shall provide fire protection services to those within the district. It doesn't specify the degree to which, doesn't have specific call-out times, response times, etc. The proposed agreement with the City of Lansing does have parameters for performance, and the goal was to have the same level of services after January 1 or upon January 1 that are currently being provided today. And we believe that that is being accomplished. As far as liability, I can't speculate on that. You're fully aware of causes of action that have been filed against the county that were meritless and found to be so. At the same time, I think rather than be concerned about liability, be concerned about providing the best services of fire protection that are realistically available.
And this option, too, basically is like a status quo. It's going to continue the same type of service, level of service.
Full-time staffed?
Yeah.
Everyone's ISO ratings will stay the same, and everyone's taxes.
Yeah, and it gives the year in case High Prairie or whoever decides they want to go a different direction. My concern is to make sure we're going to have enough firefighters, whether they're full-time or volunteers, answering everybody's concern. And this is a one-year deal, so anytime within that, they can come back and make a decision. But I think this is the best overall for everybody, and I think Lansing stepped up to the plate. And is willing to take this on when they didn't have to. So I think this is the way we need to go for this year.
And this gives High Prairie a year to
decide,
get a plan together.
Yeah.
If they so choose. So on January 1, like I said, everybody's ISO rating stays the same and everyone's taxes stay the same for at least 1 year. Was our goal. And the level of fire protection stays the same. So I have a motion on the floor.
Call the roll.
I'd like to address the board, please.
We need a...
You have a motion and a second, Commissioner.
Do we have a second?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you want to?
Yeah, come on up if you want to say something. You have 3 minutes, please.
My name is Kathleen Williams. I'm treasurer of High Prairie Township. I live at 17203 McIntyre Road. First of all, High Prairie Township was awarded a number from the state fire marshal for our fire department. Number two, in the fire district, Station 2 is supposed to have a fireman at that house 24/7. That is not being done, hasn't been done, because they don't have enough manpower. By us being our own fire department, this would award us to have at least one dedicated fireman at the fire station Monday through Friday, 7A to 7P. We totally disagree with the decision that the board is making today by not allowing us to have an opportunity to go off on our own for at least 1 year. Give us a year so that we can show you we can operate as a fire department. We will have a chief. My chief has informed me that he already has about 13 volunteers on board, that we can operate our fire department and respond to calls as needed. We also have our own tone from dispatch. So we have done a lot of work. We have the budget. We'd like for you to allow us to roll with it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Call for the vote.
What is in the contract with Lansing, the response times?
Yeah, come on up. State your name and address, please. You have 3 minutes.
Gail Thomas, 26825 Tonganoxie Road. It'll be funded with a no-fund warrant assessed to the entire fire district is my question. Is that what the commission's intent would be?
No.
Well,
isn't that what it has to be?
Well,
no.
There's no budget for the fire district?
Yeah, and that's part of the issue. What this really does is it gives High Prairie a year to come up with the numbers and the information and get all the plans together.
But during that time, our funds are our funds. The township has a budget for fire protection. We don't have a budget for fire district number 1. So any funds for the fire district number 1 would have to be a no-fund warrant issued by the county and assessed to the entire fire district.
Unless they pay
as long as the fire
volunteers.
district's in existence.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. David, you have some comment on that?
Commissioners, each of the townships in the city have levied taxes for fiscal year 2025 for the purpose of fire protection services. The funds are there. The issue is whether, I'll just put it out there, if High Prairie declined to transfer their fire protection fund, were the board to adopt the motion that's on the floor, if High Prairie declined to assess or to contribute its funds for the operation of the services, presuming that the Delaware Township and the City of Lansing have petitioned to alter the boundaries of the fire district, any no-fund warrant would be paid and assessed from High Prairie Township only. They already have the money. The issue is whether they would hold on to it and require a no-fund warrant to be assessed against the Township in fiscal year 2026 or utilize those funds that they've levied for fiscal year 2025.
Yeah.
So in the interim, because you said it would take about 90 days to process any type of a petition, in the interim it would still have to be funded by a no-fund warrant on January 1 until assessed to everyone until such a time that they withdrew.
Commissioners, I think that you have a motion and a second on the floor. I think that you are trying to get into a discussion that is better held with your legal counsel in an executive session if you so chose.
Yep. That's where we're at.
Thank you, Dale. Call for the vote.
Okay, so I call for the vote. We have a motion and a second. Begin voting with Commissioners.
I have just a comment.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Jeff.
Yep, go ahead.
I think if everybody works together, I'm specifically talking about High Prairie, then there wouldn't be a need for any kind of a warrant or action to get. It would be voluntary during the beginning period, and with the understanding that that High Prairie is working towards independence. And I can tell you, and I only speak for one commissioner, but I am very much in favor of High Prairie having their own and getting the Fire District 1 kind of as best we can put into the dustbin of history.
Okay.
But for that to happen, there needs to be an exit from the fire district, correct? That's
Yes.
the process that has to occur.
I agree.
And like I said, I'm just speaking as one commissioner, but I would have to see that no one's ISO rating in the rural areas rating would go up, and I would have to see that their taxes would not go up before I would agree with High Prairie having their own township, which I do agree with, but we're giving them, and that's exactly what this is doing, is giving them a year to figure all that out.
I agree, Jeff. I want to see them do their own thing, too. This is just a year to get this all worked out.
Or less.
Or less.
Figured out.
Or less. Yeah, right, Mike? Let's get this.
Okay.
There's a plan between fire stations.
Is that all you had, Commissioner Stephen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you elected officials if you're not listening?
We're listening to the majority. That's the issue.
What majority?
That's
I
right.
don't, we don't live in High Prairie.
This is public. This is a public meeting.
The public,
Yep,
are elected by us,
that's right.
for us.
That's right. Commissioner Stephen, what's your vote?
Say that. Repeat that.
What do you say?
Option number 2 would be,
I vote aye.
okay.
If that's what you're getting at.
Yep,
I
Commissioner
couldn't
Cox.
hear you there. Yeah.
Oh, I was calling for the vote, which the motion
Yep,
was
I
made
vote
for
aye.
option number 2. Okay, Commissioner Cox.
With the caveat that at any point, High Prairie, after the first of the year, when they can demonstrate and follow the processes for them to be out of the fire district so that they can form their own fire department, I vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. That concludes our meeting this morning. We move on to presentation and discussion items, the last thing we have. Anybody? Commissioner Stephen, do you have anything for this week for presentation and discussion items?
I do.
Commissioner Cobb, do you have anything?
Well, let's see. Unfortunately, I missed the chili cook-off yesterday, which I understand was really great, but it was for a good reason. I was with the Transit Authority Kansas side contingency, and we had a very productive meeting and discussions as to how we're going to move forward with the future of transit on the Kansas side of the border of the bi-state group. So that was good, and I think that's it.
Just had a couple of legislative breakfasts. I was glad to see a couple of our legislators showed up and good questions. Keep those open going so we can get resolved. I think Monica and the HR department chili contest had a lot of people show up and test the chili. I did warn Mike about that. And so we appreciate the employees together that get to see each other and interact with each other.
Okay. And I didn't have anything other than I wanted to reiterate. I just brought up the issues that you did at the. I wasn't able to make the breakfast, but I met with earlier, I think Monday, for a couple hours, and it sounds like you guys brought up the exact same issues I did.
We think so.
Like the LR, the 152 bridge, things like that. So hopefully, when he heard it from two different sources, 2 different times, more of an impact. I hope. Look forward to working with him in the future.
That being motion
all
to
I
adjourn.
have. Motion to adjourn. Commissioner Stephen, vote to adjourn.
Aye.
Aye.
We adjourn.